Hi cuties. Well, we're here. And she's gone. I don't even know how to begin this because I don't even know how I did this. But in the month of October, I read a book basically every single day because there are 31 days in October and I read 31 books. This is going to be a lot to do my usual reviews, so I'm going to try to do very, very short reviews. I will try to group a few things together. I did accomplish this by doing a ton of graphic novels this month in manga. That is definitely how I managed to do a book a day. I don't know why I got it into my brain to do a book a day, but I did. Cool. So without further ado, let's get into it. The very first book that I read, I didn't even know that this had come out a while ago, and that is Witchy Volume 2 by Ariel Slamette-Reese. I read Witchy Volume 1 years and years and years ago. Really enjoyed it. I love our crow Banana so much. And we continued. I actually think I like this book more than the first volume, but I don't know how long it's going to be until we get volume 3, because I know there's at least 5 planned volumes. We need it, but 4 stars. Then we read Foxglove by Adeline Grace, which is the sequel to Belladonna. Also super, super enjoyed. I actually gave this one 5 stars. I love this. I love everything about this series. It's just fantastic. Adeline Grace is a fantastic writer. The poetry alone, like the prose of it, is very poetic, is what I was trying to say. Then we read A23 of 2023, which was Dangerous Alliance by Jenny Eki Cohen. No, I always say the name wrong. I say Jenny Eki, and it's not. I think it's like Jenica or something. God, I heard it because I listened to it on audiobook. I gave this 4 stars. It was a fun time. Ostentatious romance. It was a good fun time. That's what I'll say about it. We then continued a series of reading The Twisted Tales. We read Almost There by Farah Rashan. Now, I still to this day have not seen The Princess and the Frog, so I probably missed out on a lot of stuff, but for what it was, I gave it 4 stars. I liked it a lot. Nah. Then we read Castle in the Air by Diana Wynne Jones. I did not like this. I gave it 3 stars. I was nice and gave it 3 stars. I was not happy with it. There was a lot of fat shaming in this, and I just didn't care for a lot of the characters. So, blah. Then we also read Artemis Fowl by Ian Colfer. I gave this one 3.5. It was a fun time. It was very fast. I liked a lot of the quirkiness of it. I've never read Artemis Fowl before. Good fun time. Then we read Falling by TJ Newman. I also did not enjoy this a whole lot. I gave it 3 stars. It was fine. I just did not care about anyone. There was too many switching of random POVs. I didn't care. I just didn't care. We read a ton of volumes of Ancient Magus Bride, and I'm enjoying this more now. The first, I was a little weirded out. I like that there is a discussion about how weird this situation is, where she is his bride, but also he's kind of a parental figure to her, and that people are like, yo, this is weird. So I love that we do actually address this, and there is nothing actually romantic happening between them at all. It's just that she has this title of being his bride when nothing else is really going on. He is teaching her magic. She is learning. Nothing else about it is actually like steamy or anything super weirdly romantic, and I like that the other characters point it out a lot. So that's what I'm really giving credit to Ancient Magus Bride for it. I don't have any more of the volumes. I need volume 6 if anyone finds like 6, 7, 8, 9. I can find usually the other ones, but finding like 6 through 10 has been a bit of a nightmare. Then we read Days of Blood and Starlight by Laini Taylor. I gave this 4 stars. I do still think I like book 1 more than this one, but it's Laini Taylor and she does a phenomenal job, and I loved it so much. It's a very interesting mythology with kind of angels versus demons, but they're not called that. We have Chimera, and I forget what the angel peoples call themselves. Maybe they do call themselves angels. sometimes they're referred to as angels. I like the conflict. There's so much conflict and the stakes are so high. And I loved every time we did get a character that was previously believed to be dead or was dead, and we actually do full-on resurrection. I cheered so hard every time. Then we read a Kendra Merritt. We read A Matter of Blood. I like how we blood right away. Both read books. This is the 5th in the Mark of the Least series. You do not have to read them in order. I do recommend reading By Winged Chair first, and then you can read in any order. It does not matter. I like this a lot. I gave it 4 stars. I do think it was a missed opportunity for a sapphic romance. I believed that more than the actual like hetero romance, which I don't think was enough time spent to make me fully be invested in them as characters. I was more invested in the 2 girls and their friendship, and I honestly believe would have been more, I believe them to have really fallen more for each other than other way around. I liked how there was a lot of conflict in this as well, and there was a lot of really good character growth in this. So well done, Kendra. Got through some classics. We read Mansfield Park and Arabian Nights. I gave Mansfield Park 3. I gave Arabian Nights 2. Mansfield Park I gave 3. It's not my favorite Jane Austen. It's a little weirded out. I don't really care about Fanny Price. She doesn't really do much. The only really good thing in this book is that it does have a bit of Jane Austen's anti-slavery message in it. It's very, very brief. You'd miss it if you weren't paying attention, but it is one of the first time she is like, slavery's bad, y'all, stop it. Arabian Nights, I didn't like this particular translation. So I like the stories of the Arabian Nights, most of them, not all of them. I hated the translation of this one. It was very stilted, it was very dry, and the audio rendition of this was like a ton of different narrators from all over using all different equipment, and it was very hard to understand some of them sometimes. So it seemed very slapdash put together as an audiobook. Don't recommend reading it that way. No, that was probably like the worst audiobook I've ever listened to. Then we read Sky in the Deep by Adrienne Young. I thoroughly enjoyed this. I like this a lot more than I thought I was. I did give it 4 stars because I think the ending was a bit rushed, and I think this could have been expanded a lot more to make me believe some of the relationships in this, and I just felt like the action at the very end was very boom, 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 and we could have stretched that out a bit, but otherwise fantastic. Loved it. Also read a bomb book of Girls in Paper and Fire. I've owned this book for so long. I got it in Owl Crate years and years and years ago. This is by Natasha Gunn, and I liked it. I gave it 3.5 because it did lose me at certain points, but overall it was very good. I did not expect how much about like sexual abuse that this was going to talk about, and I do think it should have had, it had a decent conversation about it, but in particular for some other characters, I would have liked a bigger one. There were some stuff in it that was very tropey, especially with, and she's not chosen one, but last resort chosen one kind of thing, and I think we could have embellished that a little bit more. I will probably read the sequel. It's on the fence right now, but I think I'm intrigued enough to want to read the sequel. We did Notes from My Captivity by Kathy Parks, and I also liked this a lot more than I anticipated. This is another bomb book about a girl who gets sort of kidnapped by this secret hermit family in Siberia. It is a lot more brutal than I thought it would be. There's so much death in this, and I really liked the growth in the characters. I liked the learning of the language was also very nice. I was really sad by the ending of this though, however, and I think I would really love if there was a sequel to go further into everything. Possibly a reunion would be good, because I'm really scared for how a lot of the characters ended up in the end, and like, we don't know. Do they survive? We don't know. So, but I thought that was very good. It's a good one that I think would make a really good movie. It's very cinematic in a lot of the kind of way that literary fictions are being made that are high stakes. Like, we could have done this instead of Where the Crawdads Sing. I think that's where we could have done that instead. Then we listened to The River of Silver by S.A. Chakraborty. This is a bunch of short stories within the Devabad series, which it was really nice to kind of sink back into this and get different perspectives all around. Anytime we're going to listen to Jamshed, I'm going to listen to Jamshed. I love Jamshed. He's probably my favorite character in the whole series. Love him. And it touched on things for like epilogue wise, it gave into prequel stuff, it gave little interims during the whole trilogy and further insight. I just love the Devabad trilogy. If you haven't read it, go read all of that. Then we read Prince in Disguise by Stephanie Kate Strom, and I ended up liking this a lot more than I anticipated, and I gave this 4 stars because I thought this was going to be, I mean, it is kind of like the book by Rachel Hawkins, which was formerly called Royals, now called Prince Charming, where there's a sister of someone who is famously marrying into European royalty of some sort. Her sister is getting married to a Scottish laird, and but he's not actually like super rich. It was for a TV show, but they actually are in love, and I do love that they're like actually in love with each other. And then we get our little sister who meets kind of a little brother figure of the other one, and they form a little relationship, and there's obvious like tropes that are happening. It's like, obviously this is what that's gonna be, but I thought it was really well done. It was really cute. We also got a really good blow up scene, which I don't normally get to have those, and that was nice to have. I would have loved a little bit more between the sisters, but I really like that. I loved, especially, there is an absent father in this who just shows up, and I loved how the main character handled that situation. That was phenomenal. I loved it. Not a lot of people do that. They're like, hey, again, if you give him, he's your debt. No, you don't owe them anything when they weren't there for you your entire life. Just saying. And we read Captain Bluebear. So we read The 13.5 Lives of Captain Bluebear by Walter Mowers. This was a thick baby. I read it while I was in Minnesota. I thought it was very whimsical. However, I do think it's way too long. It reads kind of very Douglas Adams-y, a little bit China, not full-on China Miéville's YA, like on London, but it's kind of nonsensical fantasy adventure stuff. It was a fun time, but I don't think it needed to be as long as it was because it felt a bit repetitive by halfway through the book. I really loved the beginning of the book, and then I was just like, okay, this feels the same. I don't think because usually these types of books are doing a satire, and I like, we're doing the same satire over and over and over again right now. But it was still very fun. A fun time. Fun time. Then we read Death Be Not Proud by Susanna Rowntree. This is one of her many fairy tale retold mini little baby stories. I think this is the 4th one in the actual series. And while reading this, it took me forever to figure out what the fairy tale was. It's Snow White, but it's done so well that I didn't hate it, because normally I hate anything Snow White. I really like this. It's like jazz era in New Zealand, for one, and I really liked it. We have kind of an unreliable narrator situation going on, but for how short it was, it packed a ton in here, so I definitely recommend. I think that actually might be my favorite one I've read so far. I've read 3 in the series. I have 3 more to do. Then we read an indie book, which is Zed and Zia, The World of Giants by Nathan Harms and illustrated by Caleb Harms, which are, I believe they are a brother duo. And this was, again, very cute, a little nonsensical, little alien dudes, and I really want more exploration for this character right here and her family situation. It kind of cuts off at the end, but there are 2 more books in this series. If you have a young child, it's got art and stuff all throughout it. It is an excellent book if you have a kid. I'm like, my nephew, who is about to be 3, would probably be ready to read this because his reading ability is insane. Then we read a fairy. We read The Curse of Saints by Kate Dramis. I did give this one only 3 stars. It took me forever to get into this one. I just didn't understand the world building a whole lot. I did end up liking it in the end. So it's one of those that's kind of teetering on, will I read the sequel when it comes out, or will it have just been wiped from my memory by that time? I did end up liking it by the end, but it's an enemies to lovers story, sort of, in this very high fantasy world. Not high fantasy world, it's a lower fantasy world, mid fantasy. It's just a fantasy. And the magic system I just did not quite understand throughout this. And I didn't, with the enemies to lovers romance, it was like they were enemies, 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 boom, they're lovers. And I didn't see an even transition between it. So that's my one real criticism, is that it didn't do that there was no actual pining, there wasn't any gradual understanding of each other. It was just boom, boom, in my opinion. Anyway, then we finished a series. We finished House of Many Ways. So this is all of the Howl's Moving Castle. I like this one a lot more. I think this might be my favorite in the trilogy. I related with Charmaine so much in her desire to just be left alone to read. I like that. But I liked how whimsical it was. Yeah, this might be my favorite in the Howl's Moving Castle series. Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell. I have finally read it. I gave it 4 stars. I did enjoy it. However, my criticism, it has a bunch of like excerpts from the Simon Snow series. I don't think they were necessary. I enjoyed them because I've already read the entire Simon Snow trilogy, but if I was reading this without having read that, I would have been super confused. Also, I do not believe for a second that Simon Snow could have been as popular and still have Harry Potter exist in this universe. I thought Harry Potter didn't exist in this universe, and it does. It is mentioned, and I'm like, there's no way both of those series could be that popular. No, not a chance. It's one or the other, because it would have been someone's copying someone else, because that's the thing. Simon Snow is a satire of Harry Potter. So I don't believe for a second that they existed. What I liked, there was a lot of character growth in this. I would have liked a blowout between the sisters. There are twins, and I think they needed an actual good fight, and we don't get that. We get an immediate forgiveness thing because one of them really screws up their life. Whatever. I do like the redemption of the love interest. I like that it's mentioned that, I don't like you smoke. And he's like, well, only with people. Like, I don't care. It's still smoking. It's gross. Don't. I hate when love interests smoke. But he doesn't do it a whole lot. He's very endearing. And he does mess up. And he does pay for that. And he redeems himself. So there was an actual redemption. Because I was like, oh, am I going to actually hate the love interest in this? But yeah, still, I get it. Okay, we've read it. I can be chill with myself. Then we read Beasts of Prey by Ayana Gray. This took me a hot second to get into as well, but I think I had just been overflowing with so many books that it took me forever. I did like this. Now, the next 3 books I'm about to showcase to you guys all have bare bones the same plot. We have a character who is a part of basically magic cops, and they're all corrupt magic cops, and then they learn, oh, I shouldn't be with the magic cops because they're corrupt as hell. 3 books in a row did this exact trope, and I'm like, what have I done? I still enjoyed them all. I will say one of them is better than the rest of them. This one and the other one are both 4 stars, but there's another one that's 4.5. But I did like this. I will be reading the sequel to it. I'm very intrigued by it. I am very worried about everybody. But this was just really funny. So the next one that I read, which is the 4.5, was Bonesmith by Nikki Pau-Preto. Again, magic cops. Sort of, that think they have done the right thing and they're keeping the peace when really they're causing the problems. I loved the magic system in this. I loved the characters in this a lot. I called quite a few of the twists. I don't care that I called a few of those twists because those twists were good twists. Also, I love this edition so much. I've never read a Nikki Palpretto before because I still own Crown of Feathers. I just haven't gotten into it. I really need to. But based on how this book was written, I'm like, I think I'm going to be a Nikki Palpretto fan. Then the third one that had magic cops is City of Mages by Kirsten Michelle and AJ Cerna. This is an indie book. They did once upon a time gift me their audiobook, and then my phone crapped out and lost the audiobook. So I did have to physically read this. I really enjoyed it. My criticisms for this though, like, well, I did love Alara. I loved her story. I loved her journey. I loved the magic system in this. It was really fun. My critique is that there is a second POV of Quenty. I don't think she was necessary to be a POV. I don't feel like she actually like grew as a character. She kind of stayed as she was the whole time. And she was the character kind of showing Alara that like, hey, you work for Wizard Cops, stop. So that was her role in this. So she was an important role, but I don't think she necessarily needed an entire POV because of that. Alara really took the stage, and I loved that. I thought this was very well done. This is a debut novel, I believe, for Kirsten. I don't think for AJ. But I got to meet them, and I really, really like this. Obviously, look at this beautiful cover, for one. It's gorgeous. But that was my one thing. I was like, I don't think she's necessary. The other thing I didn't like is right in the beginning, there are so many names that start with A. There was Alara, Ardo, Arlen. It was like, wait, who is who? I kept forgetting. And then I do think this has fantastic potential for a true enemies to lovers trope. It didn't really do it because it didn't really touch on that aspect. It didn't need to. But I think it was setting up for a really good slow burn of it. However, there is an obvious love interest who's barely in this book. And I don't know if it's brought into that just to bring conflict to a potential subplot romance of slow burn. I would love to see that because I really think this is a true, because one of the guys in here is like very anti-Alara and is like, she is evil, she's gonna give us up, she's gonna do this, whatever, I don't care, we should get rid of her, and really is really good about keeping to his morals for a really long time, and then learns to trust Alara over a very, very gradual, and that was so beautifully well done that I'm like, okay, but hear me out, enemies to lovers on them. Like, I do like a good, like, actual bonding friendship between them, but there's so much potential for that. I think that'd be good. The final two books. All right, you already see I did the Love Hypothesis. Go watch the vlog. And then we read Horrorstor by Grady Hendrix. This is the only Grady Hendrix I've ever read. I only own one other book by Grady Hendrix because I don't totally trust Grady Hendrix, and I thought this was fine. I didn't really care too much. I wanted it to be a lot more fun. As someone who has worked in retail, the manager who's like supposed to be super stickler for rules and stuff breaks a very big rule right in the beginning. And I'm like, dude, that was confidential information. You don't share that. He shares a test score of one of the employees that he's kind of always ragging on to another employee right in front of her. And I'm like, what the hell, dude? That's not okay. You can't give out that information. That's fire. You're fired. Go away. That's it. That was like, for someone who works in retail, I'm like, that's not an okay thing to do. Has Grady Hendrix ever worked in retail? Because that's a big, 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 big no-no. Anyway, so it was fine. I didn't totally love it. Okay, cool. That's them. I did it. There's so many books right here. 31, baby. 31. I'm an insane person. All right, well, let's go look at the stats. All right, so like it says, 31 big old bookies there. We read over 10,000 pages, 10,877 pages, 207.5 hours listened. We read 2 whole indies, 1 own voices. We started 9 series, continued 11. I did really good on continuing, and we completed 2. Woo! Good job, me. I'm very proud of myself. Here's the crazy part. Look at this. Average page per book was 350.87, but because it's per day, because I read 31 a day, it's the same number! Sorry, that just makes my little brain very happy. On average, the audiobooks were 6.69 hours long. Took me on average 2.52 days to read a book, and with an average of 3.68 rating, which is not super great, but there was so much variety. I didn't expect it to be any better. We read 18 audiobooks, 12 paperbacks, and only 1 hardcover. I had so many paperback physical reads, and all the hardcovers were mostly audio, but 0 ebooks. 14 of them were read by Libby, 4 on Scribd. Libby really kicking it in the park for me today, the month. 8 of the books were adult, 19 were young adult. We finally got back into our usual reading predominantly young adult over that, and 4 were middle grade. In our genre breakdown, we primarily read fantasy romance, as we do. Then we had a bunch of fantasy adventures, 3 contemporary romances, 3 high fantasies, and 3 dystopian fantasies, and then a smattering of other things all around. 16 of the 31 books were rated 4 stars. We only had 1 5-star this whole month, so that's rough. 1 4.5 star, 5 3.5, 7 3 stars, 1 2 star. But at least there was no like 1 stars. 23 of them were novels. 4 of them were manga and comics, 2 were anthologies, 1 was a novella, and 1 was a graphic novel. So a little bit of variety this month. A little bit. 2 of them were debut authors, 13 were brand new to me, and 16 were authors that I know and love. For our representation, not super great. There were only 4 books with a queer main character and 2 with a queer side character, 4 with a disabled main character, and 4 with a disabled side character. Otherwise, 23 without, 22 without. Not great. With our author genders, 26 of them were women, only 5 were men. Although I guess I have to give 1 to woman and man. I don't have a category for that because City of Mages is I believe a husband-wife duo that did it, but I think I gave it to Kirsten because she was credited in the author's note way more than AJ was. Character gender-wise, 14 of them were just women. Only 1 book was solely the POV of a man, and then 16 of them were of various men and women POVs. Author nationalities, ton of Americans, 17 were American. We actually had 2 Australians, 1 Canadian, 1 German, 1 French, 1 Scottish, 4 Japanese, because I read all the manga, 3 were British, and 1 was Irish. Nice little smattering there. The settings as well, 11 were in a fictional land, 7 were from England, and 6 were the United States. So finally the US is not the predominant slice of pie on here. We had 1 set in Ireland, 2 were all over the world. 1 was Russia, 1 Scotland, and 1 New Zealand. So hey. Publishers, small press 1 this month, with 7 from small or independent, because some independent publishers are not small, but I'll fix that for next year. 6 from Penguin, 6 from Hachette, tied there, 5 from HarperCollins, 1 from Simon & Schuster, 2 from Macmillan, 3 were self-pubs, and 1 was a Paper Mill Press. Then publication year, we read 3 brand new releases, 4 from last year, 3 from 2021, 2 from 2020, 9 from 2015 to 2019, 4 from 2010 to 2014, 2 from 2000 to 2009, 2 from 1990 to 1999, and then 1 from the 1800s. Although I guess Arabian Nights, I gave the translation the date of publication rather than the actual Arabian Nights, which wouldn't even track on this. The acquisition year, 15 of these books this year were acquired this year. Well done to me. 7 were from last year, 1 from 2021, 5 were from 2020, and 3 of them were from 2018 because of all those Bond books. Then where I got them from, Book Outlet did in fact win with 8. 6 were from Pango, 2 from Second & Charles, 2 from Facebook Marketplace, 3 from Amazon, 1 from Barnes & Noble, 1 from Tattercover, 1 was gifted to me, 2 were Fairy Loot, 2 were Owl Crate, 1 was from a small bookstore, and 2 were acquired at a convention, totaling the books to my most expensive month yet, with $314.31, averaging the book to $10.14. That's the most expensive month, but it's also the most I've read. Woo! Now let's check out how many books I acquired, because it's more than I read. Again, I have a problem. Hello cuties, and welcome to the haul portion. I know last month I'm like, I'm gonna take it easy on acquiring books. That did not happen. I ended up getting a bunch for really good deals. I was also at a convention, so that's when I acquire a lot of new indie books. And anyway, I'm not going to make any more excuses about it. Here's what I got. It's a lot. Okay, number 1, we have The Affair of the Mysterious Letter by Alexis Hall. A Long Stretch of Bad Days by Mindy McGinnis. 1,000 Heartbeats by Kiara Cass. Come on, girl. Do better than last time. It was not a good time last time. We have The Assassination of Brangwang Spurge by M.T. Anderson and Eugene Yelchin. I don't know. Night of the Witch by Sarah Roche and Beth Revis. The Unmaking of June Farrow by Adrian Young. The Owl Craze for September showed up a little late. This is what they were. We have If I Have to Be Haunted by Miranda Sun. Quite beautiful. And Son of Blood and Ruin by Marilee Laris. Also, he's a birdie! Those were the fairy loots. I did get my October fairy loot as well. I will show you those last. When I was in Minnesota, I did go to a few little bookstores, so I found a lot of good deals. We have the 3rd book in Artemis Fowl by Ann Coulter. This is The Eternity Code. I do need the sequel, but I got this for $1, so I was like, you know, might as well. When in Rome by Sarah Adams. The Twisted Tale anthology of stories, of little shorts, and it's edited by Elizabeth Lim. And it has Olivia Blackburn, Liz Braswell, Jen Calanita, M.K. England, Mikkel Ostow, Christina Perez, and Farah Rashan, as well as Elizabeth Lim, are all featured in this. There's a ton. There's a Snow White, a Mulan, a Remy from Ratatouille, and Anastasia, which Anastasia did not belong to Disney, so what's that doing in here? Oh, wait. Is it for Cinderella Anastasia? Might be that. And Mufasa story as well in there. We have... Okay, now there's a Treasure Planet. Okay, that's not Disney. That wasn't Disney. We have a Robin Hood, a Little Mermaid, a Tinkerbell. We have another Princess and the Frog. Triplets visited the... Oh, that's from Brave. We have a Sword in the Stone. We have another Beauty and the Beast. We have a Hercules, a Bambi, and a Sleeping Beauty. Bunch of short stories in there for Twisted Tales. We then picked up The Scarlet Veil by Shelby Mahurin, which I'm a little nervous about because it does center the character that I don't really care about, but we'll see if Shelby Mahurin can make me care about her. We then have Yumi and the Nightmare Painter by Brando Sando. I'm actually about to read this because it has dropped in my Libby app. We have Business or Pleasure by Rachel Lynn Solomon. For the Wolf by Hannah Witten. And the 5th volume of Lore Olympus. So I've technically already read this because it is on the webcomic, and the webcomic's way ahead of what's printed. I will probably go through it because sometimes there are extra things in here, but I have technically read this. We have another Ali Hazelwood, which if you watched last week's video, you know that I've started my fun project, and Ali Hazelwood's books were definitely going on that. However, I was super impressed with Love Hypothesis, much to my surprise. So we have Love Theoretically, which is one of her newer ones. We have Out of Range by Heidi Lang. A Master of Gin by P. Jelly Clark. The Sun and the Void by Gabriela Romero Lacruz. The Isles of the Gods by Amy Kaufman. The Sisters of Stray Garden Place by Haley Chewins. Of Feathers and Thorns by Kit Vincent. This is an indie book. The Spectators by Jennifer Dubois. Book 1 of Sandman. Finally, I've always been able to find cheaper copies of book 2, but I think this was, I did a book outlet order and they finally had volume 1. This one I got in Minnesota for cheap, and that was The Evolution of Calpurnia Tate by Jacqueline Kelly. Starter Villain by John Scalzi. I actually got 2 John Scalzis this month. The other one being Lock-In, which is an older one of his, and Starter Villain is his new release. Spirit Bears Its Teeth by Andrew Joseph White. It's not a sequel to Hell Followed With Us, but it is in the same, it's more historical, but I love that the covers kind of match the art style. We did snag ourselves a copy of Fourth Wing. You bet it's for that project. We have Midnight Strikes by Ziba Shanaz. The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches by Sangu Mandana. Garden of the Cursed by Katie Rose Poole. We have Small Miracles by Olivia Atwater. And Missing from the Village by Justin Ling. This is a non-fiction about a serial killer who is killing gay men in Toronto, I believe. The next few I got while at Mile High Con. And they had so much, hold on, where's the other one? Oh God. The literacy auction that they have, and they have a ton of discounted books, and I got some fairly new releases for 50 cents. One of them being Long Shadow by Olivia Atwater. It's the third book in the Regency fairy tales, as well as Queen of Myths and Monsters by Scarlett St. Clair, which is the sequel to King of Battle and Blood, which I haven't read, but it was 50 cents. This book on average costs $17.99. Yeah, I'm gonna get it. Also got Nancy Ogg's cookbook for Discworld, because I always need new cookbooks for my literary recipes when I do them. And we also got Before the Sword by Grace Lynn. This is a Mulan story. It has a $2 sticker. It was not $2. It was 50 cents. Just amazing. I love the literacy auction. I've never paid it much attention because I thought it was only like, I thought it was just a setup area for a long time for the actual auction. No, 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 no. Oh, no, no, no. And in Pango, I got these for free off Pango because I had a ton of credits because people bought some stuff for my shop. We got Zara Hussein Is Here by Sabina Khan and Mr. Magic by Kirsten White. This is her second horror adult book. Then we got a ton of indie books. They did give me a deal on buying their whole set. So we have Brotherhood of Blood by Joe Fontana, with the sequels being City of the Dreaded God and Rise of the Green Temple. We have a bunch, there were a ton of new authors at Mile High Con. So we got Blood of the Rage. I don't know if it's Rage or Rage. That's how it's spelled, by Haley Ray Johnson, who I do follow on TikTok now. You should go check her out. Marked by Fate by Jamie Hunt, also another new author there. We got the next two in here, Witchy, because I just keep buying them every time I see Amy. And we had To Skin a Wolf and Of Life and Death, which are book 4 and 5 in here, Witchy. However, they're different styles and they're different sizes than my original copies, and I'm upsetty spaghetti about it. Daughter of No One by Sam Liddell. We then have a very cool series, it looks like, is The Genesis of Seven by Sarah M. Schaller, and this is like angel mythology stuff. And they had really good marketing. All the stuff that they gave me with it, they gave me a bag, passport, stickers, a really fancy bookmark. Like, there was a lot of stuff. Kendra Merritt was also there, and because I was an ARC reader for this duology, she gave me Daybreak Sentinel. This is a sequel to Surviving Daybreak, which I did ARC read and review already. I loved it. Now I have a physical copy of it. Lena also gave me her book of the month this month with Starling House by Alex E. Harrow. I'm very excited. Then we met up with W.J. Churf at Mile High Con, and I got the first of his. I have the last books in 2 of his series, but we have Bowtie, which is the first manuscript of the Richer's Trust, which is a 2nd edition copy of it. It's thick. And then we also have The Magician's Tomb, which is the first in Adventures in Paranormal Archaeology. And then we have the Fairy Loots for October with The Forest Grimm by Catherine Purdy. Look at little red writing, but if it'll focus, it won't focus because it's focusing on my face. Look at this. Look at this. I don't know. And then we also got The Hurricane Wars for the adult part of it. Very beautiful copy, but I am fairly certain this is Dark Lena fanfiction. Based on, he has shadow magic and he's evil, and she has light magic and she's good. Tell me this isn't Dark Lena. Dare you to tell me it. I'm actually already planning on getting that one for the project, for the big episodes of is this good book or are you people just thirsty? And that's what we got. All right, that's the haul for October. I, in theory, will do a lot better in November because I'll be too busy to even go out and buy anything. The only way I'm getting stuff in November is really if people buy my stuff on Pango and I use it for credits because I don't got time this month. We are preparing for Litmas, so all right, back to the rest of the video. All right, and that was the haul. Let's see how well I do in November because I am insanely busy this month and I have a really big TBR. So yeah, we're getting ready. We're prepping Litmas. We're trying to get through all my goals for the year and it is a wild and crazy time. I hope to see you on stream, but my schedule is so jam-packed. I've had to cancel so many streams lately. It's been insane and I've been really sick. So that's also not been great. Cool. All right. Well, let me know how y'all read in October, and I will see you next time, cuties. I'm gonna go now. Bye! Click! Cool. We are clicking on books read, pages read, hours listened, boom, calibrated. Our ratings again, 4 really takes most of it. Wow, there was a big boom outside my apartment. Cool. The Mambo, where are you? Mambo, where are you? Mambo, are you in the bed? She's in the bed.